Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Conversations with Nicole Show. I'm Nicole Huckabee. My guest today is Lesa Sutton, the founder of Respect Red Flags, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping women recognize and respond to the red flags of abusive relationships. Lesa shares the powerful story behind the inception of Respect Red Flags, which was born out of her personal experience with domestic violence and her mission to educate, inform, and empower women to recognize the warning signs early on. This is a powerful and important conversation. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am delighted to have as my guest today Lesa Sutton. She is the founder of Respect Red Flags, Preventing Dating Abuse and Domestic Violence. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thanks so much, Nicole. I appreciate it.
This is such an important topic, and how all of this came about for you is so very real, and your story is so important to share with others. Tell me how it all came about that you started this nonprofit.
Okay. Well, I do have my own story. After 40 years, married my high school sweetheart, was so thrilled. And when I moved across the country to be with him after my daughter went to college, I discovered that he was alcoholic and he was abusive. So I always tell people in the beginning a couple of things when I'm telling my story, or just about red flags. I am the perfect person to tell this because of my story and to get into preventing domestic violence. Also, maybe one of the worst persons because I left and went back and left and went back several times. And that'll be a whole nother topic in itself because I think that's one of the questions I get asked the most is why did you go back? Why did you go back? So that's that's just a whole nother topic of why women go back. So, but I 2 years ago we had a violent situation. I ended up going to the hospital, and he ended up going to jail. Um, so after healing from that, and we got a divorce, and of course, it you don't just stop loving someone. That's really hard. People think just expect because you get hit or you get whatever happens that you're not going to love the person anymore. It just doesn't work like that. But during my healing, um, I started listening to podcasts, and I would listen to stories of women who had domestic violence situations, been through them, and even stories of women being murdered, killed by ex-boyfriends, boyfriends, husbands, ex-husbands. um, and in every single one of the conversations that I listened to, the podcast, they all mentioned red flags.
Yeah.
And one day I was like, what the heck? Come on, y'all. As women, we need to be smarter than that. What can we do to lessen the number? I mean, the statistics of domestic violence are crazy, and there's a lot of statistics I could get into, but basically it's 1 in 3. So 1 in 3 women will be abused. And the one of the hardest things I think about dating abuse and domestic violence is there are so many ways that you can be abused. It's not just physical.
Yeah, I was going to
And
ask you that question because it's not just someone slapping you.
no,
There are many ways to be abused.
no, there is, there's verbal. And I think verbal is because to me, verbal and emotional are the same thing. When somebody continues that verbal abuse, it gets to your heart and your emotions. It's much easier. And I had, there's financial, there's sexual, there's mental, physical, verbal. Okay. So I had them all except for sexual abuse. There, with him. I didn't have that with him. Um, and it's, it, and I've talked to other women about this. It's easier, I think, to get over physical because you heal, your body heals, the bruises go away, your bones heal back, the whole thing. And you still have that mental image, but it's the verbal is just constant and on in your mind, and it's really hard, stronger in a lot of ways. So um so getting back to how did red flags start before I get distracted.
Yeah.
um i I kept thinking about, I just would just sit with myself and think a lot about how it's just such a huge, prominent, major thing in our country. Well, it's everywhere, but we kind of sweep things under the rug a little bit. And if you're trying to get protection from a man, like with the court, with the law, it's hard to do that if you can't show them a bruised eye or a busted lip or a broken arm.
Right.
It's so that's why I'm thinking, us as women, what we can't control anybody else, right? So, and we can't. I don't know exactly. I don't know if there are programs out there for men. There might be on, how to stop. I know when they get arrested, they are supposed to go through a domestic violence, prevention program or something like that. But for women, most of the things that are available are all after the fact. It's like the hotlines, the housing, the after you've already gone through it all, then how do you get help? You've got to
Right.
get away and all of those, get protection. So how do we empower ourselves, be it a teenager, 20-year-old, 50, 60-year-old, to not get to that point?
Hmm.
And so that's how red flags was born, because I thought, I didn't go through all of this to not do anything about it. I have felt for a long time that there was something, a mission, something, a purpose in my life that was going to be way bigger than me or a job or making money or
Yeah.
whatever. And this is it. I I just kind of started working on it and I took the red flags and I was like, what do you do with red flags? What are red flags? Why do people ignore red flags?
Yeah.
Because we all, and I shouldn't say we all do, um, but I certainly did. And I thought I could fix it. I could fix maybe not him, but I could handle it. I could deal with it. It's what I wanted for my whole entire life. Um,
I think it's just human nature to think maybe it won't happen again, or I need to give someone the
oh,
benefit of the
absolutely.
doubt, or they were just having a bad day. And that's how you continue to
Justification.
ignore the red flags because as humans, I think we just want to believe the best in people. I just think that's human nature. You're just always looking for that second chance, I think. Maybe, I don't know, that would be me,
No,
right?
I think no, I think you're absolutely right. That is one thing, because we don't think like they do. And my husband happened to be a narcissist, um, and very charming. Um, it, so much so that the other previous women in his lives didn't ever really move on. I think they just got so
Are they so scarred?
enchanted with, right, with him. But um, I was, I was happened to be the lucky one who got the physical brunt of, I
Mm,
got the physical part of the abuse. And for me, I wanted to blame it on the alcohol. But you know what? It doesn't matter what you blame it on. It is it's never worth it. I don't care what kind of abuse it is. It's never worth it to stay in the relationship.
right.
So when I when I started thinking about the red flags and that, and I've been to a lot of therapy. I've done a lot of things to heal and been to a lot of therapy. And one of the things that my therapist said to me is you need to respect what your body's telling you. Respect was a big word with my therapy, and not just pretend like things didn't happen.
Right.
Respect all of it, and feel all of it. So, and I think that's really important. But so I thought that's what we're not doing. We're not paying attention. We're not respecting
Mhm.
the red flags. And then that leads into what is a red flag and what do you do and all of that. So there are a lot of red flags. I could talk for 20 minutes about just the red flags. So
Can we just highlight some of the main ones
sure.
because you think that would be it would resonate if you hit some of the highlights so that people go, "Oh boy." And then what do you do when you recognize those red flags? I mean, just run, but I'm sure it's a bigger issue than just
Oh,
that.
that's what I would like to say. Yes.
Right.
Run, absolutely run. But no, it is a much bigger um it's bigger than just turn around and run, and especially if you're already into the relationship. Now, if you're on your first date from internet dating or whatever, which I've never done, but I know a lot of people have, and you see one, you run, and then
Yeah.
you're good to go, right? But if you've had a few dates or some people just change over,
Yeah.
um, just getting in a deeper relationship. But some of the big red flags, abuse always starts with power and control. That's the basis of any abuse. So so red flag is going to be he's possessive. He is he wants you with him all the time, or he wants to be with you all the time. He wants to know where you are, what you're saying, all of those kinds of things. Um, he lies a lot, is or lies at all. But and there are uh two big ones that are talked about a lot these days, red flags. One is gaslighting
Mhm.
and the other is love bombing. Okay, so love bombing is in the beginning, and you are just showered with everything you want to hear, compliments, everything you want to have, gifts, things you want to do. You're so beautiful, gorgeous, any and all the above.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the first 15 minutes of the first conversation that I had with him after 40 years, he said, "Lisa, clearly you've been the love of my life." That's all I needed to hear. And I was like, hook, line, and sinker, right? Because but it's, so that's love bombing. And I mean, and it's not just a few compliments. It's like bombing would be, what you need to pay attention to there. Okay. Gaslighting is not necessarily a new term, but it's been thrown around a lot in uh, in psychology, and Dr. Phil explains it best. But it comes from a 1944 movie called Gaslight. And so this guy, I'll just call him Harry. I don't really know what
Yeah.
his name is in the movie, but so Harry marries a woman whose mother is very wealthy, and Harry wants to get her money. So he start now back then, so their lighting was gas apparently, right?
Right.
So he did all these things to try to make his wife think she was crazy. So he would like turn the lights up and say, "I thought you turned the lights down," or turn them off and say, "I thought you turned the lights on," when she did. And so little things like that, like, you know, "Where's your mom's necklace? Did you lose your mom's necklace? I thought and over time, it was she started thinking that she was crazy.
Right.
And so for me, so that's where the term gaslighting, someone took that gaslight movie and turned it into the term gaslighting.
Didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. For me,
Makes sense.
my doesn't it? My
Yeah.
husband did things like, "I don't really think you remember that situation the way it really happened," which would,
Wow.
yeah, which would usually be like, "Don't you remember you came up like if there had been a physical confrontation or something, you came
Mhm.
over, you came at me, you came towards me, or you came what?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't.
Mhm.
I know I didn't." But that's it's the little that's gaslighting. Like
Yeah.
they're clearly lies, but they're little twists and something. And but it's like when you
Well, he
start
put it back on
questioning,
you. Puts it back on you.
yes, yes, you start questioning yourself.
Yes.
You start questioning, did I really do that? I don't know. Do I
It's
think
because
that?
our mind is
Am
so
I
powerful, it can make you think twice about something that you absolutely know the facts about,
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
which can make you feel crazy,
Yes.
which is what
So
they're trying to do.
another just a way to get, power and control over you.
Yes.
So um so in seeing and other red flags would be, well, um I think the normal ones like calling you names. I
Mm,
mean, even though he says he's joking,
right.
right? Or he is a little rough with you, like holding your arm too tight, or, and then, but and now if that happens once, that's okay. But the thing about a red flag is, or not a red flag, the thing about an abusive relationship, heading into an abusive relationship is there will always be red flags and there will always be more than one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of what I call a yellow flag. If it's just what happens one time and it was something that was a mistake or an accident, you'll know that.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing that I want women to know is because I don't I don't think people need a long list to carry around of red flags or what have you, but it's something that you know in your gut.
Mm.
You
Too
know,
often we don't follow our intuition,
yes,
our gut feelings.
yes, and we always should. That's one of the things my therapist told me when I very first the first time I met her after um, knowing that he was abusive and trying to just, oh my God, what do I do? I left everything. I moved across the country. I gave up
Yeah.
everything for this man, and here I was. So um, that's why it's these girls that kind of or women that we just keep ignoring the red flags and going into these relationships, and then we get like, one thing is sending, you know sexy or naked or whatever you want to say pictures, and then of it because it's fun, right? Or it's, you know d- flirty, or
Flirt.
whatever those little, yeah, can be flirty and fun and all that stuff. And in the end, they're like, if you have an abuser, he's gonna hold that over your head
Gonna use it against you.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
without a
You
doubt.
just be so careful, and you don't think about it when you're in the moment because most of us all just wanna be in love and be with someone
Yes.
we can
Yeah.
share our lives with, and so you become vulnerable, you let your guard down, and you do things, and then all of a sudden, if you don't know the person like you really think you know the person,
Uh-huh.
you're in a really bad situation. And then I would suspect that's when you go, I can't get out. And we know that women don't leave because of financial reasons. We know that
Mhm.
they don't leave because they're scared.
Right.
Address that because I'm sure you were there.
I was. And so I was the person who did not want to listen to anyone because uh I felt like I could do it. But you know what, Nicole, at
Well,
the
I think
same
there's some pride there too. You wait this long, the
Oh, for
story
sure.
sounds great, you want it to work. Even,
Yeah.
even in the worst circumstances, people are still hopeful for the relationship and they don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I'm gonna have to tell someone so I can figure it out. I'm just gonna stay and work on it.
Yeah. No. And I will tell you, I had that our wedding was something that I had like envisioned years and years and years ago. It was just perfect. It was perfect 2 days with our kids, and you're like, well, you
Yeah.
know, the universe must want me to be here because otherwise I wouldn't have had this perfect wedding. No, that's also
Yeah.
not the way it works. But what I was going to say is although I kept going back and I wanted it and, until the very last, um, I also knew, like, in my
Soul.
heart of hearts, soul, that it wasn't going to work because I knew he wasn't going to change. I knew he wasn't going to stop drinking forever. And I knew when the time came that I had my own grandchild and I was, I wouldn't have wanted him to have been
Yeah.
around if he were like that. So I was hanging on to this little bitty part that I knew wasn't ever going to happen really.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping is for girls, women, when they have that first, something's not right here, that they really start questioning themselves. Even obviously, if it's a red flag, I always say, you're gonna you need to get out of the relationship, and the sooner the better. But um, how you do that is unique to every situation.
Mhm.
But there are some rules that I have, and I have them on my website. But the first one is I don't think we should keep secrets
Mhm.
because when we do, if we're going to keep a secret about our relationship, like there are secrets and then there are secrets, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if we're keeping secrets, that's not good. They usually seclude us. If there are things that you're doing or experiencing and you don't want to share with your BFF or whatever, there's there's more than likely something wrong.
That's a good one.
Um, the second one is the now always trumps the future. If you are in a relationship and he is not treating you the way you want to be treated now, like a seven, and you're thinking, oh, it's going to get better in the future. No.
Just the
Right
opposite.
now, what's happening right now is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Um, the third one is trust uh, your friends and family. I mean, your family and your close friends are going to have your best interest at heart. You may not think that, but they do.
Yeah.
They really do. Um, and finally, trust your intuition.
Mhm.
And that is one of the first things I think I started to say this earlier that my therapist told me is you've got to trust your, and it sounds like you've got a pretty good idea of it. She was telling me, although I did, but I didn't follow it. That's the whole thing. I knew, and we do know. So that female intuition that we have, especially because we're females, we need to we need to really respect that.
Lisa, how long were you married to this individual, and what been your life moving forward?
I was married to him for 5 years,
Okay.
but we weren't together for that whole 5 years. But we were, and I didn't marry him when I first moved there. Um, and he has since passed away, which was a shock to everyone. And but my life moving forward, it's taken a lot of healing. Actually,
I'm sure.
it took me a lot of just kind of, and it was all good. I would recommend anyone going through, and don't try to do any just you think that you're going to get over it, because you need a lot of therapy and a lot of soul searching and shadow work and
Healing takes time.
all of that. It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
And getting
So
help is key. So that's good that you've done all that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had to let go. I had to dig down deep and then let go of a lot of things, deal with a lot of things, um, because I think that's where, when women keep going back to the same abusive situation, I think that for me, that's that took a lot of healing. Like, what the heck am I doing? And
Yeah.
why did I do this?
Your
So,
story is so powerful as you have been sharing your story and this message of the red flags. It does give people hope that they can get out of this situation or avoid one altogether. What's been the response as you've been talking to women going out, especially young women? I know you've been in some colleges and sharing your story. What have you heard? What's the response?
well, great. The response has been great. I think they really appreciate the fact nobody really discusses this.
Mhm.
And it is so prevalent. I was talking to 60 girls, and I said, show of hands, how many of you have been or know someone personally who has been in, an abusive relationship? I swear everyone raised their hand.
Oh,
I was actually shocked. I was
what?
shocked. I thought it was just going to be, no, everybody.
That's sad.
So we all know someone personally. And that is a whole another topic too, is I think we should uh, absolutely support each other.
Yes.
And if you know someone in an abusive relationship, how do you help them? It's not as easy as just saying,
Get out.
"Hey,
Yeah.
Sherry, yeah, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind?" So they that was one thing that they really appreciated. And I think, and that's more of, I don't know if I'm going to write a book, or I am going to have a podcast and have a lot of things on the podcast. So that might be one of
Yeah.
them, is how to help someone else, because there's really nothing out there to help us to understand how to help someone else. It's easy for me to speak into the person, talk about the red flags, and then, because I was there, do this, don't. I was one of the lucky ones. But
Yeah.
women die every day
Yes.
from from an abusive partner. And it's very scary actually once it reaches that point. But the response to answer your question from, from the young women that I've been talking to is really good. I think a lot of them didn't know what love bombing or gaslighting was, and their statistics, there are probably, I think it's close to 60% of college age women don't know how to recognize red flags,
Hmm.
or I call it red flags. It'll say,
Abuse,
types of
yes.
abuse, types of abuse. So it's, um, it,
I think
I
the key
don't,
is we have to recondition the minds of our young people to understand these are things that are not acceptable. I think a little bit of generational, we've taken that submissive thing way too far.
yes,
And we've
right,
accepted things that should not be accepted because, you know, just be seen, not heard, just kind of accept it and move past it. That's kind of your wifely duty or your partner duty, and that's wrong. There's nothing that says that's acceptable, but for some reason it's taken a while for people to get out of this mindset, and you really are helping young people and people of all ages understand that, and we just have to keep saying that over and over and over again.
exactly. That's
Because
my
it's always
whole,
going to happen. It's just when not allowing it.
yes, yes. It's, if that's exactly, it. Not allow it to happen.
And we as
And
women have to think more of ourselves. We're important.
yeah,
Our lives are just as important as anybody else. And why we wouldn't see ourselves that way is sad, but we do. I mean, I've seen myself that way before,
yeah,
just in general, well, take a step back or whatever. And what we want, what we think, who we are, we're important. We're important. And we should give ourselves that importance, should do it for ourselves,
yes,
especially not to show our daughters and our nieces and
right.
whatever to empower yourself, you know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's exactly, no, you are spot on. And that's what I want red flags to be, is like a mission. Like I want it to just be I don't even know what to call it, but a thing.
Yeah,
I want it to be like a Taylor Swift fad thing, not a fad thing, but like followers. Like I want these girls and women, particularly the young girls though, if they can
change
get
it,
it
Dan.
when they're young, then
Change
they're
it.
not going to put up with it
They're not.
ever. Right.
They're
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
So,
I think we definitely have to start changing the mindsets of the younger generation so they can break the cycle, you
yeah.
know.
No,
No one
absolutely.
should be treated
Be there
like
for
you
each
were
other
treated.
always.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. It's just sometimes people just don't want to talk about it either. Just, ooh, what is it? Won't talk about that.
Well,
And it's
there
unfortunate because there's so many people that are going through things like that. So we
yeah.
have to talk about it. We have to put it out there. And there are places and communities across our country where people, men and women, can go for help. But it's hard to do that. You want to not get to that point. And that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
look at this before we get to where we have to call 911 and have an emergency exit.
Right.
Let's change this.
Right. Exactly. Don't even get close to that point. And there's an element of shame.
Yeah, of course. Of
And
course.
that's the
So
hard part.
failure too. I think we see that as failure. And
Yes.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. It really is. But that's where, so that's, I want women to understand there is no shame
Right.
in, I mean, I don't care what I and I didn't say anything to, well, it doesn't matter what your I'm gonna say I didn't say anything to provoke him, and I didn't. He could have responded with, "Oh, really?" and just been verbal or a little whatever. Oh, no. He came after me, and it was horrible. I thought I was gonna die. And the I what really honestly made me feel good is I was in a I was kind of in a smallish town, and the assistant DA, the DA, the policeman, they were all so nice and so respectful. Never made me feel like, and they literally said, "This should never have happened
Absolutely.
under any circumstances." So, they're the whole "you made me do that" kind of thing. No
Mm-mm.
way.
No way.
Absolutely not.
No. I tell you, you sharing your story is so important, and I admire you for doing so because a lot of people could just say, I'm done, I'm out, I'm moving on, I'm getting out of here, I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's so painful, and because it's a part of your life that you have to relive, really, in order to help someone else. I have great admiration for you because a lot of people wouldn't want to continue to share such a horrifying experience because they care so much about someone else to keep them from getting in a similar situation. I mean, that's so admirable, Lisa. I mean, so kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. But, thank you. I just feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. Um, and so if I can help one, I've got young, great nieces that are, high school, college age. And if I can help one handful, I would love to bring the statistics down. That would be, I'd love to keep any and all women from getting into an abusive relationship. It would be fantastic.
We just have to keep talking about it.
Yes,
That's
we
the key.
do.
100%. So how
Yes,
can
we do.
folks follow you, stay informed? You know, tell me the ways that they can keep up with what you're
Okay.
doing.
Well, Red Flags is relatively new. So my website is respectredflags.org. I am Lesa Sutton, and I spell my name weirdly. The Lesa is Lesa, or Respect Red Flags on Instagram and Facebook. I am going to come out with my own podcast. I don't know exactly when, but I'll, share that on social media and on the website. Um, and I'm super excited about that because I will not only just talk about. I'm going to bring some guests, young women, and let them tell their stories, and
Right.
so I'm really excited about that.
Well, I'm excited for you. I want to thank you for being my guest. And as we close, any final thoughts?
Uh, thank you, Nicole, because I think what you're doing is a good thing. I think the your conversations are usually trying to help get the word out, and that's the biggest thing with red flags. I'm not trying to, I mean, I want to, in the message needs to go to any and all women. I do want to say one last thing is I do respect other relationships. I know there are other relationships besides, male and female,
Sure.
but that was my story. So
Sure.
that's where respect red flags all came from.
Yeah.
And
No
I
matter
think,
what relationship, we have to be kind and loving
yes,
and respectful to one another.
yes,
Right. But yours was, a man. So we're
right.
sharing your story. So I totally get that. But
Yeah. So that's it. Just share, share, share. Pass it
yeah,
on.
help our younger women and all folks to be kinder and loving and respectful to one another. That's really the
Yes.
key. That's
Yes.
really the key.
Absolutely.
Lisa, thank you so much. It's been such a delight to have you.
You're so very welcome, Nicole. I appreciate it. I hope we can do it again.
We will. We will. And that will do it for this edition of the Conversations with Nicole show. Until I see you again, I hope you have a great day.